Indian equities end the week on a high. The Sensex adds 200 points to close above 35,400. The Nifty inches closer to 10,700. Big tug of war expected in the RBI board meeting come Monday. Special package to small and medium enterprises, liquidity boost for NBFCs and a helping hand to banks might be the dominating themes.
I would say in the present situation, Section 7 should not be used because it will give wrong signals.
Former Reserve Bank Governor C. Rangarajan weighs in on the RBI board meet, says the board should not direct the RBI governor but should offer advice, adds that the government would be sending the wrong signals if it uses Section 7 of the RBI Act to get its way. Hiccups in the hunt for a new CEO at Yes Bank. Ex-State Bank of India Chief O.P. Bhatt drops from the selection committee, stating conflict of interest. The stock tanks 7% and Yes Bank tries to firefight, says 10 names have been shortlisted. The CBI infighting starts in Supreme Court. That case is being heard. The Supreme Court asks Alok Verma to respond to Central Vigilance Commission. His then deputy Rakesh Asthana also seeks a copy of the investigation, but the Apex Court denies the request. Well, those were the key headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. You're watching Cnbc TV 18, and this is Reporter's Diary. Let's go across to Shereen Bhan for the top story of the day, and that is the deal between the Tatas and Jet Airways. Shereen.
Well, it is official now. The Tatas have confirmed that they are interested in Jet Airways. After a crucial meeting of the Tata Sons board, which took place in Mumbai today, the group has issued a statement which says, and I quote, "Over the last few days, there has been growing speculation in the print and electronic media about Tata's interest in Jet Airways. We would like to clarify that any such discussions have been preliminary and no proposal has been made," end of quote. Well, this is exactly what we did state. We did say that today the Tata Sons board would not, in fact, sign off on any proposal, but what was going to happen was the Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran would appraise the Tata Sons board of where things stood with respect to the talks with Jet Airways. So this is the first official confirmation coming in from Tata Sons, saying very clearly that preliminary talks with Jet Airways are underway. Joining us now, Mark Martin, founder and CEO of Martin Consulting, Ajay Otani, founder and editor of Live from a Lounge, and aviation expert Devesh Agrawal. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. Ajay, let me start by asking you, it's the first official comment that's come in from the Tatas saying very clearly that yes, preliminary talks are on, but no proposal has been firmed up just yet. That's pretty much what we had reported as well.
Yeah, so I think this is the first sign now that things are moving forward between Jet Airways and Naresh Goyal and the Tatas. Now that the official signals have been made,
Ajay, we've got you on a bad line. Let me go across to Devesh and get a quick reaction from Devesh. Devesh, so the first official confirmation coming in from the Tatas, but I would imagine a point of concern will be the manner in which the Jet Airways stock has rallied in the last 2 days since the report surfaced of Jet and Tata's being in dialogue and in discussion to work out a deal. That, I would imagine, is going to be a point of concern, at least for the Tatas. But Devesh, it is now official preliminary talks, as the Tatas say, are underway.
Good evening, Shereen. Thank you for having me. You're very correct. If you recall, yesterday, as we discussed, the longer the Tata stretch out the deal, it would be more beneficial for them, in terms of low valuation. But quite clearly, this goes to show that the Jet Airways brand does have significant, shall we say, brand equity. It has strength in the mind of the consumer. So the issue was cash, and the moment cash comes into the airline, things can stabilize and the airline can go forward. Of course, the Tatas will obviously avoid the mistakes that have been made by the existing, management at the airline and move things forward.
Yes, Mark, good evening. First official comment in from the Tatas, but if this were to go through, and at this point in time, there is no structured proposal that has been given the go-ahead by the Tata Sons board. There is the matter of bringing Etihad on board. We don't know whether Delta could make some sort of inroads into the transaction that is being worked out at this point in time. But purely from a regulatory point of view, from a competition commission point of view, do you believe that there could be any hurdles with respect to these two, Jet and Tatas coming together?
Good evening, Shereen. Great to be back on CNBC. Just a couple of things. I think we as we reviewed this last night as well. I think what's coming up clear is that we will, in the next week or so, see something coming up from Tatas, and I think clearly they've demystified the whole bits on rumors that they were, whether they'd be interested or not. So I think the good positive bit is that the Tatas have confirmed that they have had initial talks. And with respect to putting up an offer on the table, I think it's not going to be that easy, because we are looking at some kind of an open market offer to acquire the share of Jet in the market. So in that, we expect there to be some sense of a share buyout as well. We're not sure at this stage whether Etihad is going to be exiting, but we certainly know that, and I think this is based on some of the reports that we've seen, that SIA is not going to get anybody to, have a free ride on their acquisition and investment. And coming up as far as Jet Airways is concerned, I think it's the obvious. Everybody wants to be quiet till some sense of a strategic outline is defined. We also do know that if at all there would be some sense of a market offer or an announcement or some step that should be announced by Monday or Tuesday, which is more critical. And obviously, as we know, this is a complicated country, so we are dealing with, SEBI and Company Law Board and several steps that have to be built up to that. But I think the good part is that to sum up, Jet definitely has a second lease of life. They've got the much needed support, and we will certainly see Jet flying, at least in our skies, for another 10 to 20 more years. So that's a very good, very positive signal today.
Well, we don't know if we will see anything by Monday or Tuesday, because the Tata statement is very clear. The discussions are preliminary. There is no proposal. And Jet, so far, by the way, has always maintained in its communication with the exchanges, even in its communication with us, that the talks, the reports that we have been sending them with queries are speculative in nature. But let me go back across to Ajay. Ajay, so confirmation coming in from the Tatas. It's a plain vanilla statement. Not much more was expected anyway. But in light of what we've now seen, what would be the next steps that you expect?
I think the next steps in this case now, what will happen, Shereen, a detailed due diligence. I think right now they're working off a preliminary due diligence to see if they want to go forward with this transaction or not. I guess if the board supports it, which would have been the reason why the statement came out this evening, now there should be a detailed due diligence and things should move forward from there. So I don't think, like Mark said, Monday or Tuesday is not a timeline that we are catching. It's going to be a little longer than that. To take this forward.
Yes. Yeah, I would imagine that it will be longer than that. In fact, I would expect that there will be some degree of cooling off, given the way that we've seen the run-up in the Jet Airways stock. But in terms of what you would watch out for from here, Ajay, very quickly, any specific issues, areas of concern that you would watch out for from here on?
I think my key issue with this whole transaction would be not the financials. It's going to be the people. It's always the people who make or mar aviation transaction. And the same is in this case. Jet and Vistara are two different sides of a coin. Jet is sides of a coin. Jet is very structured, very hierarchical, and very old. And Vistara is very newer processes, newer planes, everything's different about them. So they're as different, apart from the fact that they're full service carriers, they're different as chalk and cheese. So will this combined entity be able to
Right.
make it work, is what the question is.
Okay. Devesh, clearly in the realm of speculation, but what do you believe is likely to be the fate of AirAsia India if this transaction were to go through? I mean, that's where we've just recently seen the Tatas picking up stake from Mr. Ramadurai, etc. What do you see as being the fate for AirAsia India, which really hasn't done very much?
In fact, I was just about to add a rejoinder to Ajay's statement that I said, apart from worrying about the strategy of integrating Jet into, whether it's with Vistara or something else, there has to be a lot of planning to be done. What Tatas have invested both in Vistara and in AirAsia, and exactly what is going to be the fate of AirAsia. While AirAsia is very small, one of the things very crucial is AirAsia has got sufficient capacity at Bangalore, where if Jet, Vistara, and AirAsia capacity is added, they will leapfrog Indigo at Bangalore. And as you know, Bangalore is a major hub for feeding the Tata companies. TCS is headquartered here, and the IT industry, the knowledge-based industry, is a major user of air travel, both domestic and international. So not quite sure what exactly they might do with AirAsia. They might terminate their agreement with AirAsia, return the aircraft, because after all, there are certain legal complications that are, going on with AirAsia. So it is altogether possible that the Tatas might just decide to exit, buy up the slots and capacity and, bid adieu to Mr. Fernandez.
Step in here.
Well, that's still... Yes, that could be a possible scenario. We don't know whether that will be the scenario that will eventually play out. But at this point in time, what we do know for certain is that preliminary talks, are underway between Tatas and Jet Airways. Whether it will finally culminate into a deal or not is the question mark. Ajay and Devesh, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. We'll take a break, but there's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere.